Hey guys, welcome back for another video. So this one's gonna be a little different. I've been gone for a year from YouTube. And as you may have noticed, I put a couple little videos out. I was a guest on BellTube, on Brian Bell's channel a couple weeks ago. And that was so fun. And it just reminded me how much I missed making videos. And then I did a tagged video last week. So you may see me popping back up and being like, oh, her, where did she go? Well, if you're only here to listen to me talk about books, that's totally fine. You can just go watch one of my old videos or, turn on the bell notification, as they say, to hear about when I post new book-related videos. But I am going to catch you guys up just a little bit on my personal life and what all has been going on. So you may notice that my background is different. This is a temporary setup. I have big plans to completely decorate this room and do custom built-ins that I've always dreamt of. But that's a project that's probably not going to happen till this fall or winter because we just have so much else going on. So right now I've got my old bookshelves up. I've got about 80% of my books on them. And then a lot of my books are just like throughout the house because I don't have room for them yet in here. So new location, long absence. Let me just fill you in a little bit. So last April, my mom had a health incident that we thought at the time was a stroke. And that was in April, early April. That was actually the day before Easter. What's funny throughout this, not funny, but throughout this tragic journey of my mom and her illness and her passing, every major event happened on a holiday weekend or at like a really inconvenient time. That's neither here nor there, but it is good for remembering dates. The day before Easter, my mom had what we thought was a stroke. She was in the hospital for a couple of days and the doctors were just like, it looks like a stroke on paper, but the imaging, it's just not consistent with a stroke. And they're like, I think she might have a brain tumor. I'm actually wearing her brain tumor shirt right now. We were all representing. After that, we did, of course, a lot of scans and MRIs and testing and stuff, and it turns out she did have a brain tumor. At the end of May, they said that it went from the size of a walnut to the size of an orange. So we're talking a very, very aggressive tumor, a grade 4 glioblastoma, which unfortunately is actually it's the second most aggressive and deadly type of cancer that somebody can get. So in the end of May, we confirmed that it was indeed a tumor and it was removed surgically immediately. And with that surgery and chemo and radiation therapy, even though the type of cancer she had is terminal, we were hoping that we could get 12 to 18 months left with this palliative care. The tumor was removed. It was a successful surgery, but this aggressive type of tumor, it has fingers and it grows all in the little coils of the brain. And so there's just no way of completely eradicating it totally. So we were really hoping to get 12 to 18 more months with her. And, she'd be doing the cancer thing the whole time, but we'd have this time with her. So we really set out this roadmap of, this is a vacation we want to take. These are the things we want to do. We were going full-fledged Tim McGraw, live like you were dying. But unfortunately, that was just not the way our story was written. Her cancer was extremely aggressive, and she ended up getting pneumonia because, chemotherapy comes with eradicating your immune system completely. And she declined very, very quickly after that. So we really weren't able to do much of the palliative care. And after it was all said and done, she was in hospice by July, and she passed away on September 10th of 2023. So when all this started happening, my family, well, the funny thing is, it's not really funny, but it was so ironic, just like, oh, of course, this is what's happening. But we were in Florida on our annual family vacation, and we were like deep in beach mode. We had like 20 something family members with us. And this is Matt's side of the family. And I get the call that she is having brain surgery. So I get on a flight, I leave my vacation in Florida at the end of May, and I basically stayed in Oklahoma ever since then. So we did move, we relocated our family and our life from Missouri to Oklahoma, not only because I needed to take care of my mom, but because all of us wanted to spend every single minute possible with her before she passed away. So we just kind of locked up our home, we packed as well as we could, and we moved into her house in Oklahoma. That experience was, again, if I had to do it over again, I'd do it the exact same way because it was the most convenient for us and it was the most comfortable for her. But we had, let's see here, 10 people living in a tiny 1,500 square foot house that is, the layout was basically perfect for her and her 2 young sons, but was not meant for that many people. It really, really just isn't. So we had a pretty miserable span of months, being cooped up in this house, trying to take care of my mom, who was declining rapidly. She lost all of her speech almost immediately. She wasn't able to use her hands, so she couldn't text message or anything like that. She declined so quickly that we were just taking care of her. And it was my honor and it was my privilege. But my gosh, it took so much out of me. Like, it changes you. For anyone who's ever been a caretaker to a loved one, and I know that so many of you have, I think you would echo the experience. It empties every single thing out of you. And of course, I was taking care of my kids as well. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, she in 2020 adopted 2 little boys. So she has, at the time, a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. So my husband and I also started the process of becoming their legal guardians and adopting them. So that, they were my brothers and now they're my sons. There's no way we were letting them go back out into the wild world. That just wasn't even an option. So my mom did pass away in September. And after that, we had the big decision to make. Are we going to stay in Oklahoma or are we going to go back to Missouri? And either way, we were going to have to get a new house because we were starting to outgrow our Missouri house anyway. But yeah, we went from a family of 5 with 3 kids to a family of 7 with 5 kids. And oh my gosh, that is a huge difference. I would have told you beforehand that, what's 2 more, the more the merrier. But it makes a big, big difference. It makes a difference in the amount of time I'm able to give everybody. It makes a difference in our grocery bill. And it makes a big difference in the sleeping arrangements in our house. And our house in Missouri just definitely wasn't going to cut it anymore. So we decided that we were going to have to move either way. So we decided to move to Oklahoma. And that decision was, man, bittersweet to say the least. I've loved living in Missouri. I've loved living close to Matt's family, and I loved living in the country. But a lot of things about just weren't working for us in a long-term capacity anyway. So since all of my family lives here in Oklahoma, meaning my dad and my stepmom, my 4 adult siblings, I'm the oldest of 5, and then of course the 2 little boys that we adopted, their names are Vincent and Silas. Their entire network of friends and family and community, they're all here. And so after all they had been through, and knowing that my family was kind of craving some change anyway, we decided not to uproot them out of their environment and just take them away. That's hard. They're confused anyway. They're little. Your mom just passed away, and now we're going to move away from everyone and everything you've ever known. So my kids are a little older, and they have been absolute troopers, but they were so supportive and helpful and just had the best attitude in what was an extremely stressful and tumultuous and just sad, sad time for us. So my kids are the hero of the story. They just impress me every single day. But we moved from Missouri to Oklahoma officially. And that is wild, you guys. I don't know if you have ever sold a house out of state while you're living in a different state. But it was stressful. Luckily, we had an amazing realtor who completely had our back and did all the legwork and found us the perfect buyer. But yeah, in January, we went and had to empty out our house completely and move everything into a storage unit because after months and months of looking in Oklahoma, it was hard to find the perfect house. We were working with what we thought was a pretty good budget, but the market is so crazy right now that we had to get creative when it came to finding the perfect house for our large family, our unique circumstance. We host a lot. Like I said, we moved away from Matt's whole family, who we had been so close to for so long in Missouri. So we definitely knew we needed a house that could host. We wanted Matt's parents to be able to spend the night. We like to have, big family parties and have friends over and stuff. And so I was like, I need multiple living areas. I need a big kitchen. I need a guest room. I need room for all 5 of my kids. I had what do they say? Champagne taste on a beer budget a little bit. But more than anything, I just had a very long list of not just wants, but really what I considered needs. And we were so fortunate that at the very end of February, we found the perfect house for us. And we moved in right away, and we have been renovating. This was a 1974 time capsule. And I love retro, I love vintage, I have quirky style myself. So we were able to incorporate some of that charm in, but a lot of it was just dated and needed to be completely redone. So for the last several months, I have been sanding trim, I have been scraping popcorn, I've been changing out light switch covers and doorknobs, and just kind of bringing this place to become an area that I love being in. That's very important for me and my home, because I've mentioned it before, I am indoorsy. I am an indoor person. My home is my sanctuary and my refuge, and so I need to love it. And so I have been working, I have been painting, I have been peeling, I have been doing all kinds of things I didn't know I knew how to do. And fortunately, there's so many moments throughout this story of just like gratitude, because sure, it's been kind of a series of unfortunate events type year, but we've had God just guide our way and put so many people in our path that make things work out and make things so much easier for us. And that being said, my brother, that's what he does for a living. He is a professional painter. He remodels bathrooms and kitchens and scrapes popcorn ceilings for a living. So bless his heart, he has been over at our house in any free nook and cranny of time he has to help us make this place a place that I'm comfortable being and I love. So I love you for that, Peyton. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the work you've done. I mentioned a series of unfortunate events. One of my family members who lives here in this town in Oklahoma with us is my grandmother. Now, losing my mom, of course, was I can't even talk about the levels of grief and the ocean I'm swimming in right now. Because again, if you've had this happen to you, you understand. But until then, you just don't. But as important as my mom was to me, and will still be one of the most influential people in my entire life, my grandma, now, that is my lady. This lady has had an impact on me like no other human in the world. And in March, right after we moved in, we find out that Mimi has a very rare and very aggressive type of stomach cancer. So I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I did not even get a break and we're already doing this again. Fortunately, her cancer was operable. And it was, like I said, it was a rare in that the location that it was in was very unfortunate for surgical circumstances. So if you've ever watched Grey's Anatomy, or if you're familiar with gastrointestinal surgeries, she had to have a full Whipple. And a Whipple is a very dangerous surgery. And no matter how old you are or who's doing the surgery, it has a high mortality rate. And it is it's a terrible recovery. And my 84-year-old grandmother took it like a champ. Oh my gosh, I have never been so proud or so inspired by somebody in my whole life. This woman had a scar from top to bottom, her entire abdomen. The recovery was a nightmare. It was worse than anything I could have imagined, seeing her in so much pain and seeing her struggle. She was in the hospital for 12 days, and then we moved her in here. She moved into this bed right here, and she lived in my guest room / library, and we had a great time. She is back home because, like I mentioned, she's a rock star, but she was here for about a month. So how is that for just like adding the cherry on top? We just moved into this house. We start remodeling and tearing everything apart, and in comes Mimi. So I was by her side in the hospital day and night. I brought her here and I waited on her hand and foot, and I can't say this enough. It was an honor. Like being able to do that for her was just a huge blessing for me. And it's something that I'll always be grateful for. I'm grateful for the time that we get with her from here on out, because she was brave enough to go through that surgery, because the surgeon left it up to her. He told her, Robbie, that's her name, this is a very dangerous surgery, and a lot of surgeons wouldn't even consider her a candidate because she has diabetes, she has high blood pressure, and she has kidney disease, kidney failure. When you get that old and you've been taking medicine for a long time, your kidneys just aren't what they used to. So he told her pain management is going to be difficult, but she did it like a trooper, and I'm so grateful because now we have her for many more years, and I got the experience of being able to take care of her. So All that to say, I really do think things are finally calming down here. We love living in Oklahoma. We love our new house. I love being around all my siblings and their kids, and we're just having a really fun summer, going to the pool a ton and staying in our new house because it is really, 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 really hot here this summer. So I just thank you guys for staying subscribed while I was gone. I thank you for tuning into this video. But mostly, thank you to every single person who reached out to me while I was gone or after I came back and you're like, oh, her, thank you for your messages. You don't even know how encouraging it is to know that even though you feel alone, you feel isolated, you feel like you are drowning some days, knowing that there are people out there who care, who wonder, where did she go? Not because you think I owe you anything in the form of a video, but because I'm a person and you're a person and you care. So thank you so much for checking in. I wasn't gonna do this video because sometimes when something like this happens, you get to the point where you're like, is this all I talk about? Is this who I am now? You don't want to become obnoxious. You don't want to be like, oh, by the way, my mom had cancer and now I have a dead mom. You don't want that to become your personality. But I've had so many people reach out and genuinely ask, like, hey, I heard that your mom passed away. You know, what went on with that? You know, what kind of cancer did she have? And I heard you guys moved. And it makes me remember that even though I feel like I talk about it all the time, I'm not talking about it to everyone all the time. And I just appreciate that you guys genuinely check in with me and like to know what's going on. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching. And my next video will be about books.